Hey guys, I want you to think about this article with views on zoos. So you're probably thinking that you love to go to the zoo, it's so fun, but not everybody always thinks that way. Some people think that it is kind of punishment for the animals. They feel bad for them. So I'm going to read today, and you're going to follow along and highlight, because this is what our Unit 6 Summative is going to be about, okay? So I'm going to start with the background. The oldest known zoo existed in Heracleopolis, Egypt, more than 5,500 years ago. It had hippos, elephants, baboons, and wildcats. In ancient times, a zoo was meant to display a leader's power and wealth. The purpose of today's zoos is different. For example, when the popular and vast Bronx Zoo opened in 1899, its purpose was to preserve native animals and promote zoology. Today, some people question whether zoos should exist at all. Now we're at functions of a zoo. So zoo advocates call attention to the main functions of a zoo: conservation, education, research, and recreation. I want you to highlight those 4 functions. We're going to talk about them a few times. Animals that are constantly threatened in the wild are safe in a zoo. They are well fed and have medical care. Animals that are endangered can be bred in captivity, ensuring that their species do not die out. I'm thinking that is conservation because it talks about how it benefits animals and how they are safe in a zoo. Next bullet point. It is difficult to study animals in the wild. They are generally shy of humans and will avoid all contact. In the confines of a zoo enclosure, animal behavior can be studied. Animal responses to various conditions can be analyzed. Human beings have a natural curiosity about animals. Millions of people who otherwise could observe only a few animals in their lives can visit a zoo and marvel at the diversity of life on this planet. That makes me think that humans really benefit from their education and the research, as well as recreation. Remember, the word recreation means to have fun, or something you do for fun. Now at Sonia's blog. Who am I? What I do every day. Saturday, June 18th. Before I start reading this, remember a blog is somebody's own personal experience. This would be considered opinion writing. The zoo! I visited the zoo with my mom today. It's the same zoo she visited with her mom. Mom said she remembers that the first thing you would see was a cage with 2 Siberian tigers in it. But now the tigers have a new home, a huge area about the size of 3 football fields. I'm going to highlight that because that shows me a big change. And 3 football fields is a lot of space. They need it. They are huge themselves. One of the tigers weighs more than 600 pounds. They are my absolute favorite animals. Go on the web and find some images of them. You'll understand. We couldn't see everything in just one day, and luckily, Mom and I both like the same animals. That means no snakes or insects. I always say I like all animals, so I'm a bit embarrassed to admit that I prefer the furry, cuddly ones. But when a tiger looks you in the eye, you know it isn't very cuddly. There were elephants, cuddly, and giraffes. Hippos, monkeys of all kinds. I started wondering where they all came from and how they liked it here. I talked to some zookeepers. I guess it's obvious, but they all love animals too. They took good care of them and know each one's personality. But I couldn't help noticing a sad look in some of the animals' eyes, and they seemed defeated. That paragraph makes me feel like she is feeling sad about the animals. I can go jogging all around the pond and across the park and then go with Mom to our friends way across town just to visit. That's what I can do. And then come home and go to school the next day, and some of the animals had that faraway look that seemed to say how far they wanted to go too. One of the keepers told me that a Siberian tiger, I know I can't stop talking about those giant cats, can travel over 600 miles. Well, that's a long way from the zoo. That's making me confused because the 3 football fields does sound like a lot, But if a tiger can go even further than that, it probably isn't very much space for a tiger. So I had a mixed experience. I love seeing the animals, but I feel bad for some of them because they couldn't be themselves. I know, that's just me thinking I know what an animal would feel, but here's what I think. If you put me in a big apartment with everything I might need, it would be great for a day or two. And then I would want to go do the things I do every day and be myself. That's what this blog is all about. What do you think about zoos? And as usual, I want your comments. So that was Sonia's blog part, and we can infer that she's kind of feeling mixed about a zoo, but that she likes them because they're fun to go to, which maybe you can identify with, but that also she kind of feels that some of the animals might want to go and run around a bit. I'm going to transition now to the next page and the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. That table there is a bunch of statistics. If I just look at the table before I'm reading, I'm looking that the zoos contribute to the economy $16 billion. And that's a lot. But then when I look up here, I see that there are 752,000 animals in the zoo, and only 1,000 of those are endangered. That seems kind of small when one of their main functions is conservation. Conservation means you save animals. Doesn't feel like they're saving a ton of animals based on this table. Let's read what it says. The Association of Zoos and Aquariums is an organization that accredits zoos mostly in North America. This means that the AZA carefully makes sure that animals in zoos have suitable living environments, live together in their natural social groups, and are well taken care of, helping animals follow their natural behavior. That seems important and kind of explains to me what accredits means, so I'm going to highlight that to make sure it sticks out. Most well-known zoos are members of the AZA, but the animal exhibits in the United States, fewer than 10% are accredited. Worldwide, there are more than 10,000 zoos. This really didn't tell me a whole lot about the table, but just that it was a reliable source. So I know that this is factual information, which is going to help me when I read the next section. Innocent and imprisoned. I'm already thinking that this guy doesn't like zoos because imprisoned, I know innocent people shouldn't be imprisoned. And I think he's making a connection that the animals are innocent and they're feeling imprisoned. The elephant behind the fence is bobbing her head repeatedly, a sign of zoochosis, distress resulting from being in a zoo. I wanted to highlight that because it defined it right after the word, and distress is not a good thing. In the wild, elephants roam about 30 miles each day in large groups, but not here, and one wonders what crime she could have committed to be behind bars. That's not the way it works, though. Violent and unpredictable animals are not the kind that are exhibited in zoos. The zoo inmates are all innocent. Of course, zoo conditions for animals have improved vastly. Oh, I want to point out that word vastly. I'm unfamiliar with what it means, but down here it tells me in the footnote that it means greatly. Cramped cages and incorrect diets have been replaced with open spaces and well-researched care. Oh, I'm going to highlight that because that stands out to me as a clue about what vastly means. A cramped cage replaced with open spaces, that's a big change. And then an incorrect diet with well-researched care, another big change. So that is helping me know what that word vastly means. But it is impossible to recreate the living environment of a dolphin or a polar bear. A 40-year-long study showed that polar bears, along with lions, tigers, and cheetahs, exhibit great evidence of stress in captivity. This feels like another example of animals not doing well with the zoo. So why are all these animals locked up? One answer to the question is conservation. We talked about that before as being a function. But only a tiny number of zoos breed animals for conservation, and they release very few animals. During the 20th century, there were 145 attempts to reintroduce populations into the wild, and only 16 of them were successful. The only way to guarantee a species' survival is to preserve them in the wild. Anyway, fewer than 15% of the animals on display are endangered. Many of the others in zoos are in zoos because of their charisma. These are animals that paying customers want to see. So I know that it says tiny number of zoos breed animals for conservation, and that is not just an opinion because it is backed up with facts, and this author gave us a statistic, which is leading me to think that this is factual article. This article is fact, okay? Bonus point for charisma, if you knew that's where the word riz came from, good job you. But it means charming. There's another reason for keeping animals under lock and key. Research. In some cases, this may be helpful to the animal populations as a whole, but to me, it seems unscientific. Information gained from studying animals in unnatural situations is only reliable about animals in unnatural situations. I wanted to highlight that because that is confusing how they worded it. But after reading it again, I'm thinking about it. It's saying that information gained from studying animals in a zoo is only reliable information for other animals in a zoo, not for animals in the wild. Zoos also provide their customers an education. In most cases, however, the information given about an animal is very brief and presented on a small sign that few people bother to read. People tend to talk to their friends as they watch the exotic animals rather than learn about their particular traits and characteristics. Visitors may watch in surprise as lions choose the freezing outdoors over heated shelters, but never learn that these animals once roamed freely throughout Europe. I wanted to highlight what stood out to me because I can connect. I've gone to the zoo many times, and it's true. I rarely read the small sign. And I'm always talking to my friends as we watch the animals and not really learning about them as much as I probably could be. The final main reason for having zoos is entertainment. This is obviously unfair to animals that are imprisoned to entertain us. There are numerous television shows and movies that show us animals in their natural environments, behaving in ways that are natural to them. A zoo that really suited animals would be a failure. It would be huge, and many of the animals would remain out of sight. The money spent supporting zoos would be better used trying to save animals in their natural surroundings where they belong. I wanted to highlight this end part because it really felt like it was the claim that the author was saying. That the author was really trying to tell us that these zoos would be better, the money spent would be better in the wild, or the other claim of the natural habitat of animals is the best and it's really hard to recreate. Thank you for following along. Please keep track of your copy of Views on Zoos.